Today's case, we're going to cover newly released footage of a prior case that we've covered here regarding the murder of Anna Moriah Wilson.
Austin, please!
Do I stop? I don't know what happened. I just walked in on her.
What's her name?
Her name is Moriah. Moriah is her middle name. Her first name is Anna.
The background of this case is in this video here, so be sure to check that out for more in-depth analysis of what happened. To brief the storyline, on May 11th of 2022, Anna Moriah Wilson, people knew her as Mo, was fatally shot by Kaitlyn Marie Armstrong at a friend's home by the name of Caitlin Cash in Austin, Texas. Caitlyn was extremely jealous, insecure, and resented Mo partially because Mo had been the woman that Colin, Caitlyn's boyfriend, dated when Caitlyn separated in the fall from Colin in 2021. The other part of that resentment seemed to stem from the person that Mo was in general. She was a winner. Everyone just loved her. She was a natural beauty. She excelled at professional cycling, which was the common factor between Colin and Mo to begin when they did meet each other and they did end up dating. It seemed like Caitlyn hated that there was a woman involved at all during her separation with Colin. Maybe at that time, Caitlyn hoped that he was missing Caitlyn. Ladies, you know how our mind works. We go into this place where we think that distance makes the heart grow fonder. Yet instead, Colin ended up meeting another woman, Mo. And worse, Caitlyn realized how adored, admired, and loved Mo was to everyone. Now, as a yoga instructor, Caitlyn had a little in common with Colin, but not as much as Mo did. Caitlyn was also very beautiful, but it's apparent that Caitlyn based her own beauty in comparison to Mo's, and therefore she could not see that about herself. She just obsessed over the competition in her head with this other woman, Mo.
I really love her. I just have been not convinced that I want to be like life partners with her. We'd be better business partners and friends.
She really began to sort of harass Mo Wilson. Caitlyn sent her nasty text messages, phone calls, essentially digitally stalked her. But I think she reached a point where she really wasn't getting any more reaction. And she assumed that the two were still involved in a romantic relationship. That's when she decided to do what she was going to do.
So May 11th, what happened was this. Colin ended up heading over to Caitlin Cash's house, which was the friend of his dear friend Mo. He picked Mo up at 5:43 p.m. on his bike. Colin and Mo went for a swim at the Deep Eddy swimming pool. They shared a meal and rum drinks at nearby Pool Burger Cafe. What Colin did not know was that Caitlyn Armstrong had accessed Colin and Mo's text messages to each other, and through that, Caitlyn was tracking Mo through a fitness app called Strava. And also during this time, Colin was not being honest with his whereabouts with his girlfriend Caitlyn. He told Caitlyn he dropped flowers off for someone that day, and after that his phone died, but all the while, he was really out with Mo. So now there's some live footage that captures the night of May 11th once Colin dropped Mo back off at her friend Caitlin Cash's home.
There's other evidence to suggest that she was being followed. There was actually CCTV footage, and it demonstrates Colin driving away on his motorcycle.
Tell me exactly what happened.
My friend is staying with me, and I just walked in, and she's laying on the bathroom floor, and I don't know what happened. I can't tell what happened.
This is a relatively compact home, and so it's pretty easy to have line of sight from where the front door is to sort of the laundry area.
8, 9, 10.
Keep going, kid. There's a lot of help coming as fast as they can. Keep going. There might be a police officer coming in soon. That's okay. Don't leave her alone and don't stop.
Did I hear them?
Okay, that's good. Keep going. Don't leave her alone. They'll come to you. Just keep going.
By the time first responders arrive on scene, they're too late.
Austin, please!
Do I stop? I don't know what happened. I just walked in on her.
It almost looked like she had been the victim of the beating. There was clearly blood in and around her head.
There's a shell casing right here next to my right knee. There's another one right here. We got 3 shell casings.
Silver medication.
At least. Alright, pause just a second, Mike. Yeah, headshot. Nobody heard any shots? We don't know how long she's been down? No.
Pretty early on, they determined that this was something other than, say, for instance, a natural event. Mo had sustained essentially 3 gunshot wounds.
And that execution style killing immediately takes me to this was personal.
No! She doesn't live here!
What's her name?
Her name is Moriah. Moriah is her middle name. Her first name is Anna.
She says she's from San Francisco?
Well, she's from Vermont, but she's living in San Francisco.
So she came to visit you?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, she's here for a bike race this weekend.
Do you know if she's talking to anyone or any friends? I know you say you doesn't live here.
Yeah, no, she was with her friend Colin.
Colin was
Yeah, Colin Strickland. I left to go have dinner with my friends, and then I came back, and this is my house.
That's your house.
This is my house. She's staying with me.
Did you see a gun or anything like that in there when you were
Why is
there?
there a bullet casing?
Detectives are going to start looking for shell casings, looking for a murder weapon, canvassing inside, out.
Officers search the immediate area, and they find something out of place, a puzzle piece. They're not sure where it fits.
That's her bike. Cover, yeah.
So where would the bike be? Where would she keep her bike?
I mean, it would be right inside the door.
Is there a bike?
1708.
Give me one. You see a bike? She said she would put it right by the door. No bike.
As they are looking around the crime scene, a short distance away in like a heavy kudzu kind of wooded area, they find Mo Wilson's bicycle.
Hey, come here. Somebody might be in here. This might be the bike, okay? Over there. At 432, I located the bike.
They knew that maybe, just maybe, there was some value in this, because who would take what is a pretty expensive bicycle and merely just toss it over into the weeds, as it were?
And that's not the only thing detectives find. Cameras on nearby homes capture what could be key evidence that only adds to the mystery of the case.
One of the things that they do look for are patterns. Are there people loitering outside in and around the time of the crime? Are there vehicles making multiple trips in and around the scene of the crime? And what they ultimately did see was an SUV circling the neighborhood.
There's a dark-colored SUV with a bike rack on the back. Unfortunately, they can't get a license plate from the vehicle because the bike rack's in the way. But it's right close to the crime scene, and throughout that day, it drives by there several times. More and more evidence is being discovered. They realize there's a gentleman close by that has Ring doorbell. You actually hear some type of altercation followed by 3 gunshots.
So now I'll show you what confronting Colin also looked like.
Police tracked down 35-year-old Colin Strickland the next morning to see if he could potentially be involved.
Colin? Yes. Person? Yes. Do you know Anna? Mo. Anna Mo. Yeah, everybody calls her Mo. Last name is Wilson. Rider, she's a gravel rider. Yes, I do. There's really no easy way to say this, sir. So apparently last night she passed away. How did? Yeah. Right now it's an open investigation, but it is being investigated as a homicide. Okay. We went to Deep Eddy yesterday afternoon, and then we heard her, and I dropped her at the apartment she's been staying at with her friend Kat.
Police noticed several cars in Strickland's driveway, including one that looks very familiar.
He does say that the 2012 Jeep Cherokee that's there is not his vehicle.
They're thinking in their minds, okay, we've got this kind of nondescript, dark-colored SUV that we saw on CCTV. Could this be the same vehicle?
Law enforcement asked, well, whose SUV is that? And he says, well, that's my roommate, who's my on and off again girlfriend, Kaitlyn Armstrong's.
Has Kaitlyn ever gotten so mad in the past that, not necessarily thinking that she would do anything, you know, but I mean, has she ever threatened anything, or?
She's always seemed like such a mild, gentle person.
Mm-hmm.
That's all I can say. It doesn't make sense, but just being very disturbing.
Colin Strickland, great cyclist, meets Kaitlyn Armstrong in that tight-knit community. They start a relationship, they move in together, and it's kind of this on and off relationship for about 3 years. They even start a business together where they're restoring trailers, things like that. When they are broken up, Colin Strickland meets Mo Wilson, and they really hit it off.
Colin and Mo had a casual romantic relationship, really for about a month or two, but then that seemingly kind of fizzled out. And part of why that fizzled out is because Mr. Strickland's girlfriend, Caitlyn Armstrong, Mo Wilson was dating Colin, who Caitlyn claimed to be her current boyfriend, but what he claimed to be is that they were on a break.
Knowing Caitlyn's vehicle is there, what do you think took place?
I know both these people, and I can't imagine. It's just so far beyond the realm of reality that I live in, or I thought. So that's what I'm struggling.
I'm asking you what you think. Is she capable of doing something like this?
I wouldn't be living with a person who I think is capable of doing this. So the answer is no. I don't believe it. I really love her. I've been not convinced that I'm want to be like life partners with her. We'd be better business partners and friends.
So as law enforcement continues their questioning of Colin Strickland, and they ask him, do you own any firearms? He comes right out and says, yeah, I'd purchased 2 handguns in the past.
Austin Police Department came with a search warrant of his home.
He was very forthcoming. He said, actually, I purchased 2 just a while back. Really? You did? As a matter of fact, I bought one for my girlfriend, Caitlyn Armstrong. And not only that, both he and she had gone to the firing range in order to practice. The police at that point in time knew that they were onto something.
By May 12th, the next day, they brought in Kaitlyn for questioning, but on a misdemeanor theft warrant for Botox. Yuppers peppers. 2018, Kaitlyn got over $600 of Botox and scrammed. They're like, here's the bill. You look great. She's like, yeah, I'll be right back. I left my card in the car. And she's all, swerve. Never paid the bill. But when they questioned her about the warrant, the date of birth was incorrect on it. So unfortunately for authorities, she couldn't be charged for it. And it's like, okay, $600, a warrant. Botox was the motive to get her there. Murder was the reason they wanted her there. They were aiming to figure out what happened to Mo, in knowing that Kaitlyn had been around the crime scene at the time that the crime occurred.
Let's do a quick pat down real quick.
You're here for a warrant right now, I guess. Are you familiar with what you have going on with that?
I have no idea.
Okay, so I guess it was like a theft of service warrant, something kind of minor. Nothing. Okay.
A theft of service warrant basically is saying she received a service and didn't pay for it.
Can you give me any information on what you're talking about?
As far as the warrant or as far as everything else?
As far as the warrant.
Yeah, so I don't know too much. I guess it's just a theft of service. Usually that's like something like didn't pay for something pretty minor.
Can you tell me what it was that was the theft of service?
I can look. I'm not sure what it is at this point, but because you are here and because you were under arrest for that portion of it, we always have to read Miranda and stuff because I want to talk to you about some other stuff that's unrelated to that.
She's trying to understand what exactly is theft of service, but you can tell that the emphasis is not necessarily on that particular charge.
The reason I'm here is because your name came up during a conversation with Colin. I think there's a lot more information that you have that can kind of explain some of the stuff he's saying.
I've never heard of this warrant before. I don't know what you're talking about, and it doesn't seem like you can give me any information on it, but you want to review. Are they knocking here?
I think it's for something else. So with the warrants,
they bring Caitlyn Armstrong in on that theft of service warrant. They do explain to her what it is, but it was filed incorrectly. And it was filed with the incorrect birth date.
apparently that warrant, the date of birth was wrong. So it had your name, but the date of birth is wrong, so it's to a different person. So that's not, you're not under arrest, okay?
Okay.
I know, it's a little crazy.
So they just came to my house and put me in handcuffs for no reason?
So there was a warrant that they thought was you. Apparently, the date of birth was off. So this is going to be consensual at this point because you're not under arrest. The door is unlocked. You can leave at any time. So
I would love to leave.
With the incorrect birth date. It's not a valid warrant. Therefore, she's free to go.
Do I need an attorney here?
I would really like to talk to you and clear some stuff up because Colin did bring your name up, and I think there's a lot more information that you have that can kind of clear some stuff up. Does that make sense?
It makes sense. I feel like I should have an attorney present.
So that's totally your choice.
That kind of just clears the air. Hey, listen, you were actually free to go, but before you leave, just real quick, I have a few questions to ask you. And they're starting to lay that foundation out to start to ask her more questions about where she was the night of Mo Wilson's murder. Now, Caitlyn Armstrong immediately kind of puts her guard up.
You would love to
just arrested me in front of my house, in front of all of my neighbors, and carried me in here in handcuffs in front of downtown Austin. It was incredibly
I can only imagine. And I'm so sorry. I don't have control over that part, okay? So let me kind of explain some stuff. Did you hear about what's happened over the past 24 hours?
Colin walked in the house and said one of the women in the cycling community passed away.
Yes, yeah. While Colin was talking to us, your name came up. And it sounds like there's a lot of stuff that's going on, and it sounds like, you know, Colin's been maybe talking to this girl for a little bit and kind of threw your name in there. I think you might be saying some stuff, and I want to get your side of it, okay? Because there's always two parts of it. He's got a very different version of everything that's going on. And so when we only hear one side, it only gives us one side to work with.
Her behavior is telling to me that she will sit there and have the details of the theft of service warrant explained to her. And then when it turns to Colin Strickland and Mo Wilson, she wants to leave.
It sounds like there were some issues between you and this girl, and I think that there's probably a lot more to it that you could help explain.
Okay, I'm not sure exactly what you mean or what information you'd like.
Well, it sounds like maybe he went out with this girl the other day, and maybe it sounds like from what he's saying that you were a little upset about it.
That is not accurate.
Yeah, and that's why I wanted to chat with you, because it's a guy. He's going to say stuff. And so we want to make sure that we get both sides of the story and everything and clear it up. What were you doing yesterday?
I would like to leave, I think.
That's completely your choice, but understand if you do, then we only have one side of the story to go on.
Mm-hmm.
What is very interesting is her body language during this interview. Initially, she's very just relaxed, but a little arrogant and cocky as they are talking to her. And as that investigator kind of starts to open up that door and ask about Colin Strickland and issues that she had had with Mo Wilson, that's where you see her become more uncomfortable, and she is ready to get out of there as quickly as possible.
I just am uncertain as to even what you mean or what he could have said, because I didn't have any idea that he saw or went out with this girl.
Has he been talking to her
I would
on
like
the
to
side?
leave. I don't actually know, and I would like to leave.
I agree. In knowing now what we know now, that was incredibly arrogant. This murder, by the way, was sloppy. So to fake not knowing anything about this was just plain stupid. But then again, it also opened the door for her to think about a grand getaway, which she wasted no time in doing. Caitlyn ended up selling her Jeep for $12,000. She turned off her social media and she fled the country.
So she goes to a car dealership, sells the Jeep.
Typically, when you see a suspect liquidating things to get, over $1,000 in cash, that is a very telltale sign that they're looking to flee.
At this point, detectives seem to have an idea of what possibly happened the night Mo Wilson was killed. But as officials are keeping track of Caitlyn Armstrong, she somehow falls off the map.
She then boards a flight up to New York, flies into there where her sister lives close by, and is there at her sister's house a short time.
The thing that came into most handy in terms of looking for her was the airport surveillance video of her sort of with her yoga mat going through security at the Austin airport. They knew that she went from Austin to LaGuardia because that was all in her name. When she left, they were able to track her name on that flight. It's there that the case sort of went cold.
That's when local law enforcement decide to call in the big guns. Several federal and international agencies join the search for Caitlyn Armstrong.
They look at flight logs under the sister's name, and lo and behold, guess where it is? Costa Rica.
But several weeks go by without a trace of Caitlyn Armstrong. Federal agents make one last attempt to lure her out of hiding.
Law enforcement solicit the help of the United States Marshal Service. That is their bread and butter, tracking down fugitives. And this is a very heavily tourist area, which makes it very difficult for them. But they start looking into hostels. Caitlyn Armstrong was an avid yoga instructor, and so they thought maybe she's down there teaching yoga. And in one last-ditch effort, they decide they're going to put a Facebook ad out saying that a hostel is looking for a yoga instructor.
The very astute hostel stayer actually befriended her and then started realizing that this could be her. She responded to the ad, but the people waiting for her was law enforcement.
Caitlyn Armstrong was captured on June 29th by foreign officials in the Republic of Costa Rica, where she was detained on an immigration violation and deported back to the United States.
She was in Costa Rica, living in a hostel, sort of living her best yoga life. She had different names. She even went so far as to get a nose job.
Armstrong fled the Austin area days after being interviewed. Armstrong was detained by authorities at the Don Johns Hostel located in Santa Teresa Beach following a 43-day fugitive investigation. She dyed her hair brown, she cropped her hair shorter, and had a bandage on her nose where she claimed it was from a surfboard incident.
Law enforcement starts diving into the forensic evidence, cell phone data. What we start to see is that Caitlyn Armstrong, because of her business relationship with Colin Strickland, she's actually able to go in and read his text messages, see who he's calling, read his emails. It was during that time that Caitlyn Armstrong starts to have her suspicions on Strickland's relationship with Mo Wilson.
Caitlyn Armstrong is charged with murder, but while she's in custody ahead of trial, there's another crazy twist.
So as Caitlyn is waiting for her trial date, at some point they have to transport her to a medical facility, doctor's appointment, and as one last-ditch effort, Caitlyn tries to flee. And as you can imagine, she didn't make it very far.
A murderer who's trying to get away with killing this beautiful young woman and not having to pay the ultimate price for it.
In November 2023, Caitlyn Armstrong's trial begins for the murder of Anna Moriah Wilson.
The last thing Mo did on this earth was scream in terror. Those screams are followed by ah!
I think she intended to go there to kill her. When you see the vehicle circling even before Ms. Wilson gets home, the gun, all of those things, that does point to intent and premeditation.
Prosecutors at this point just want to make sure that they have an air-sealed case. Law enforcement is pulling the GPS data on the Jeep. Lo and behold, that GPS shows that Caitlyn had been driving right near the crime scene on the days of the homicide.
The defense, however, had a different argument.
Was Caitlyn in the black Jeep? Who had access to the black Jeep? Who had access to the key fob to the black Jeep? Colin claimed he saw Caitlyn Armstrong come out of a black Jeep. How amazing that the one fact that he seemed to remember with greater clarity over time was the single fact that drew attention away from him and pointed the finger at Caitlyn Armstrong.
All of the circumstantial evidence pointed directly back to Caitlyn Armstrong, but CCTV footage from that day when Mo was murdered, there was never actually an image captured of Caitlyn Armstrong entering the home.
Not one witness saw Caitlyn Armstrong allegedly commit this murder. Not one. Because there isn't one. You did not hear about any direct evidence showing Caitlyn Armstrong is responsible for this crime, because there isn't any.
The defense argued the evidence is not indicative Caitlyn Armstrong is a killer. Perhaps someone else had the motive and opportunity.
Rick, come on, Costa Rica. What are you, an idiot? Come on. She ran. She ran. Only a guilty person would run. We do know that Caitlyn Armstrong routinely traveled internationally with little notice. Was she scared? Do you think that she may have been concerned a little bit that her boyfriend had killed someone? Or if not that whoever killed Moriah Wilson might want to kill Caitlyn Armstrong next? What about those guns? Colin bought those guns. Colin told her to train with the gun. DNA swabs were taken from inside the black Jeep. Never tested. Why? Why not? Unknown DNA profile on the seat, unknown DNA profile on these handlebars, unknown DNA profile on the gun. That does not make sense. Austin Police Department did not want a single piece of evidence in front of you that might point away from Caitlyn Armstrong.
It was put forward that perhaps Colin Strickland was responsible, that he had just as much reason to want Mo dead.
The shell casings obviously matched the guns that we knew had been purchased by Mr. Strickland, but then were in the custody of Ms. Armstrong.
In this life, we know a lot of things beyond a reasonable doubt. But that Caitlyn Armstrong is a murderer, that she committed this crime, do we know that? Are you certain?
However, prosecutors had one more trick up their sleeve: cold, hard DNA.
This is where it gets interesting. We go back to that bike that was found.
They swab DNA from Mo Wilson's bike, that there's a very strong likelihood that the DNA on the seat of the bike included DNA from Caitlyn Armstrong.
Caitlyn's DNA was found on Moriah Wilson's bicycle. So now we basically have that fingerprint in a sense.
Mo Wilson is a 25-year-old prodigy taken from Matt and Mr. and Miss Wilson. The state has met its burden of proof beyond a reasonable doubt. I think we climbed past their mountain and climbed Mount Everest. Overwhelmed. I only ask you to do one thing. Justice for Mo Wilson.
After days of testimony from over 40 witnesses, the case is handed off to the jury, and after 2 hours of deliberations, they return with their verdict.
The defendant will please rise. The State of Texas versus Caitlyn Armstrong. Verdict of the jury. We, the jury, find the defendant, Caitlyn Armstrong, guilty of the offense of murder as alleged in the indictment.
What I really think got her where she messed up, like many of these cases we see, is that digital footprint.
A day later, court reconvened for Caitlyn Armstrong to learn her sentence.
In accordance with the verdict that the jury has rendered, this court hereby sentences you to 90 years in the Texas Department of Criminal Justice and a $10,000 fine as imposed by the jury.
Now, a judge has ordered Caitlyn Armstrong to pay the Wilson family $15 million in damages. It's said that if there was ever an opportunity for her to financially benefit from this crime, the judgment will prevent her from getting any money until Mo's parents are officially paid. The bottom line is Mo's parents have suffered immensely. As a family, we are broken and complete and will forever suffer the void of her presence on earth. This is what her parents have said. The empty chair at the family dining table where she once sat haunts every holiday and family get-together. They continued, rather than looking forward to sharing her life and successes, we are faced with an emptiness hard to describe. There will be no cycling career, no future wedding or grandchildren, only thoughts of wishing things could be different, wondering why this happened and how we are going to live through the remaining years of our lives with this emotional pain. I will continue to say, beauty is really something that comes from within someone. And I think that Caitlyn Armstrong knew that. She was willing to change her entire appearance in order to not be held accountable. I said in my last video that I really hoped that Caitlyn would look in the mirror and she would remember always what she had done through the eyes of a stranger in her own reflection and her own appearance. But now, 7 months later, after producing that first content, I've changed my thinking about that. I really don't think so. I think a lot like Jodi Arias did with her victim. She was willing to live a very tough life of survival and become someone totally new in order to protect Caitlyn Armstrong. To protect what exactly? What she did and all of those feelings that led her to commit the crime in the first place. That's what I think. And it takes a really evil person to justify doing everything that she did. Life is so much bigger than the current events that break our hearts. We are designed to be resilient and go forward in order to see what that next part of our life is, that next best chapter that's ahead. Caitlyn, she ended Mo's life, but in the end, she actually ended up wrecking her own life as she would have known it for just a small period of her life of weakness, just not being able to have emotional self-control. Do I think that she really knows what she did? I don't. I don't think that she really seems to care about what she did. That's just my personal opinion. I think that people that commit these kind of crimes, if it's premeditated, in which this case it was, I think that they live a little bit in a satisfactory mode where they know that they've won. Somewhere in their head, they've convinced themselves that they've won. Like they don't have to live in the jealousy and rage any longer. However, that is, in my opinion, a seed that is planted within someone. So it's not like killing someone just fixed all of that. It just made it a whole lot worse. And she's still that person at the end of the day, just with a different appearance. She never fixed anything. She just made it all worse. And the worst part about this is that she took Mo away from her life and all that she would have known it to be as well. So rest in peace, Anna Moriah Wilson. We were honored today to be your voice. Thank you guys so much for tuning in, and I will be seeing you next time for the next content. I'm Chelsea J. Be blessed, loved ones.